And then this is the one where people seems to be kind of confused. So the step up from the N95, and actually this one you see does have the N95 as well, is what we call positive pressure. And so in this category, what it does is that it creates, so there's two types. Those two works almost the same way, but this one is more like for hospitals and stuff, so we get trained for those ones as well. And so what it does is that this thing creates a fan and it creates air. So even if for whatever reason your mask is not fully secure on your face, there's a little bit of air that rotates. But at the same time, as things tries to go in, the air inside your mask push it out, because there's a positive pressure, so basically keeps things out. So negative pressures to keep things in, and when we put a patient inside a room, we want negative pressure. But when you want to keep things out, so if I go inside that room with the sick patient, I want positive pressure because I want to keep those bugs away from me. And so when people, for like firefighters, for example, when they go on fire, it's the same principles. Is that the mask fits their head. And actually, I got trained with those apparatus at one point. And basically, when you try the mask, literally, you have to have someone with you, because as soon as you have that mask that fits and everything, and there's a hole, and then you tight this thing, if somebody didn't start the machine, you cannot breathe. Like the whole mask is closed up. There's nothing coming in. And so it was like that. The whole exercise of putting this in was about that. It's like you put your hand on the hole where the breathing machine comes in, and you suck, and you feel literally like there's no air. And so as soon as you put this thing, somebody has to start your thing, and that was the whole training. And so yes, those thing. So compare those two. Has one difference though, is that the firefighters, because the air around them is not pure either, this thing throws oxygen at them, so it brings air so that they can breathe. Versus this little machine, all it does is create a fan of filtering. So the air comes in, gets filtered, and then it pushes out. So that's why you still need an N95 in case that bad particles goes in, but it usually creates positive pressure and kind of keeps the stuff away. Versus the firefighter ones, all they do is create positive pressure and brings air, because they go in an environment where there's low oxygen. So that's the difference with those two. And then you have the famous gas mask that every survivalist, or a lot of survivalists, talks about and stuff. Those things have a very limited use. They're made for army or for law enforcement or things like that. You have to, my understanding, you have to be fitted with them, and not only that, is you have to know how to put them. There was a study done, and I'll put links down, that somebody, I think it was in Israel, they give masks to everybody, and I think 10 or 15 people died trying their mask on. It seems like if you don't put it properly and stuff, again, there's no air coming in, or they were apparently one of the mistakes they do. So those cartridge, they come with a little cap on it, and they forgot to take off the cap, because it creates a negative. So basically the air can only come if it comes through that canister. Basically they couldn't breathe and they died. So I don't know if it was the only way, but yeah, there was like 10 or 15 deaths. So first of all, you have to really know what you're doing when you're doing this thing. Second of all, is that those masks, a lot of people buy them like on the cheap or at army supplies. If you have any crack or anything like this mask is useless, because if any air goes inside, it's useless. Again, because that seal, the whole purpose of this is keep the bad air out. And so if there's any cracked seals or anything like this, then you cannot use them. So don't recommend them unless you're fully trained. And then if you're fully trained, then you don't need this video. So let's go with the example. So you're driving, and then suddenly you see this very yellow fume of this and stuff. And so what would you put? Well, sadly, this is a bad situation, and again, those would be like gas mask if you had them, or the positive pressure. But sadly, we don't really have. So that would be not kind of case that you would have the N95, but basically, it would be a case that let's get the hell out of there as soon as you can. Your N95 would not be able to stop that stuff, and even your positive mask. If you look at people with asthma, as you can see, they use the mask inside a suit. A lot of those components and chemicals sometimes will attack, so they'll be corrosive or things like that, and basically they can burn your mask or affect your mask. And so you need this full suit to be able to protect you from that chemical. So this is a bad situation, but when I do my series on decons and stuff, we'll talk a little bit more about that. But N95 or the mask that we mostly have, not a good thing here. Fire. A lot of time I hear, oh, I'll put my N95 for the fire. N95 again is filtered for water. It is not good for gas. The two things that fire can be affected with is carbon monoxide. And carbon monoxide is a gas that basically is produced by the flame, and if you by combustion, and when you inhalate that, it decreases the concentration of oxygen that can goes to your hemoglobin, and so basically you can die of suffocation because there's not enough oxygen going down and you fall asleep and stuff. But one other thing that a lot of people don't think about is arsenic. There's a lot of product that when they get on fire, the byproduct that they produce is arsenic, and then basically you're breathing that inside. Your N95 will not stop that stuff. So let's repeat that again. N95 will not help you into a fire. A lot of people seem to have this knowledge, this impression that if they put an N95 for fire, that they would help them. Not only that it would not help you, it would most likely impaired you. The thing with N95, if you ever tried one, a very good seal one, is that it decreases your the air that is inside, and so basically now you're trying to go in an environment that is low oxygen, and having that mask that's very tight on you and with decreased oxygen, you could actually almost pass out because you're producing more CO2 than your and the carbon monoxide as well added on to this that you can breathe. And so basically you could literally pass out because you don't have enough oxygen to your brain. So a bad combination to use N95 in a fire. The example number 3, riot agents, and so tear gas and other products like this. The N95 could help, but just like the turbid water inside your filter, most likely it will get clogged. And for example, pepper spray will attach to it because it's kind of an oily thing, and then if it gets attached to your mask, you could still breathe the pepper, and basically it could still affect you. So it could help, but most likely it wouldn't. There and I'll put articles down below, but 3 things that could help you: vinegar, toothpaste, and Tums. Yeah, they seem very unlikely to use those 2 drinks, but in those kind of situation, those 3 products would most likely help you more than your N95 mask. So N95 is really more for medical use. And again, it's for very particular when you're close area and stuff. So I wanted to do a quick video kind of explaining the difference and stuff. As people prepare a lot of time, like they put a lot of gear inside their bag, and they buy like big box or something. And so you just have to put some consideration of like why you're going to buy them and when you're going to use them. So I wanted to do a quick video on this. So I'll talk to you soon.